It's never the big things that break you. It's not the disasters, not the tragedies, not the moments you prepared for. It's the stupid little things. The coffee that spills right when you're already late. The message that comes off cold when you are trying your best. The person who cuts in line like you don't exist. The child who makes a mess when you're already exhausted. And suddenly, you snap. Your voice changes. Your body tightens. You feel that surge rise before you can stop it. Later, when the moment passes, you ask yourself the same question you've asked 100 times before. Why did that get to me? Why do I lose control over things that don't even matter? You don't like this version of yourself. You want to be calm, grounded, mature. But real life keeps poking you in small, relentless ways until your patience wears thin. And here's the uncomfortable truth most people avoid. The problem isn't the spilled water. It isn't the rude comment. It isn't the slow traffic or the careless text. What really hurts you is the moment you lose control of yourself. That's what stays with you. The regret, the shame. The sense that you're being dragged around by emotions you should be stronger than. This is exactly where the Stoics began, not with perfect calm, not with detachment from life, but with the question, why do insignificant things have so much power over us? They noticed something most people never slow down enough to see. Anger doesn't arrive because the world is unbearable. It arrives because we react without choosing. The world presses a button and we explode, again and again and again. And every time it happens, you lose a little self-respect, not because you were angry, but because you didn't feel in control. Think about it. If a stranger can ruin your mood with a glance, if a minor inconvenience can steal hours of your peace, who's really in charge? The Stoics believed anger was one of the most expensive emotions. Not because it feels intense, but because it costs you clarity. When anger takes over, you say things you don't mean. You make problems bigger than they are. You replay moments in your head long after they should have ended. All for what? A moment that didn't deserve you. This is why small things feel so big. They're not threatening your life, they're threatening your sense of control. Your ego wants the world to cooperate, to behave, to move smoothly, and when it doesn't, anger steps in like a guard dog. But here's the paradox the Stoics uncovered. Every time you explode over something small, you're proving that something small owns you. It's about noticing the moment before you react, that tiny space where you still have a choice. This video isn't about becoming passive. It's not about swallowing everything or pretending nothing bothers you. It's about learning how to stop wasting your energy on things that don't deserve it. Because the goal isn't to live without challenges. The goal is to stop letting trivial things decide who you become. Over the next parts, you'll learn how the Stoics trained themselves to stay calm in a chaotic world, not by changing the world, but by mastering their reactions to it. And it starts with a simple realization. Peace isn't stolen from you. You give it away one small reaction at a time. Before anger shows itself, something else happens first. So fast, you barely notice it. A thought, not a long speech, not a clear sentence, just a quiet interpretation. That was disrespectful. They shouldn't have done that. Why does this always happen to me? And in that instant, your body reacts. Your chest tightens, your jaw locks, your patience disappears. Most people think anger comes from the event, the spilled drink, the rude message, the careless mistake. But the Stoics saw something different. They noticed that two people can face the same situation, and one stays calm while the other explodes. Same event, different reaction. Which means the event isn't the cause. The real trigger is the story you tell yourself about what just happened. This is hard to accept because it means the problem isn't out there. It's inside the interpretation. Imagine someone sends you a short, blunt text. No emoji, no warmth, just a few dry words. Your mind fills in the blanks. They're annoyed. They don't respect me. I must have done something wrong, and suddenly you're irritated. But pause for a second. What if they were distracted? What if they were tired? What if the tone you felt never existed? The anger didn't come from the message, it came from the meaning you attached to it. The Stoics were ruthless about this. They said, "Nothing is insulting by itself. An insult only becomes an insult when you accept it as one." This doesn't mean people aren't rude. It means their behavior doesn't automatically get access to your emotions. There's a gap, and inside that gap is your freedom. Most people never use it. They treat every thought as a fact, every assumption as truth, every emotional reaction as justified. So they live in constant tension, always reacting, always defending, always explaining. The Stoic approach is simpler and harder. Question the thought before it hardens into anger. Ask, is this interpretation the only explanation? Am I absolutely sure this means what I think it means? 9 times out of 10, you're not. And here's something even more uncomfortable. Many of the things that anger you aren't actually attacks. They're reminders. Reminders of your own expectations. You expect people to be considerate. You expect life to cooperate. You expect things to go smoothly when you're already tired. When reality fails to meet those expectations, anger fills the gap. Not because something terrible happened, but because something didn't go the way you wanted. The Stoics didn't fight this with positivity. They didn't say, "Just think happy thoughts." They trained themselves to see events as neutral first, before labeling them as good or bad. A child spills water, neutral. A stranger cuts in line, neutral. A message comes off cold, neutral. Only after your judgment does it become a problem. This sounds simple, but it's powerful. Because once you stop labeling everything as personal or offensive, your nervous system stops treating every inconvenience as a threat. You begin to slow down. You respond instead of react. And something surprising happens. The anger loses intensity. Not because you suppressed it, but because you didn't feed it with a story. This doesn't make you weak, it makes you accurate. You stop wasting energy fighting imaginary meanings. You stop turning assumptions into emotions. You start seeing situations as they are, not as your irritation paints them. This is the Stoic skill most people never develop. The ability to pause and ask, what actually happened? Not, what does this say about me? When you master that distinction, small things stop feeling so big. And the world becomes quieter, not because it changed, but because you stopped adding noise to it. There's a reason small things hit you harder than they should. It's not because you're weak, it's not because you lack discipline, and it's not because the world is especially cruel to you. It's because your mind has been trained to personalize everything. From a young age, you learned a silent rule. If something goes wrong, if someone is rude, if plans fall apart, it must be about you. So when a colleague snaps, you assume you're the problem. When someone ignores your message, you feel dismissed. When things don't go smoothly, you feel disrespected. Anger becomes the shield. It flares up to protect your sense of worth. But here's what the Stoics understood clearly. Most of what people do has nothing to do with you. They are reacting to their own stress, their own fears, their own confusion. Yet your mind makes you the center of every event. And that's exhausting. Because now every inconvenience is personal. Every mistake is a slight. Every delay feels intentional. No one could stay calm under that weight. This is why Stoic philosophers warned against ego-driven interpretation. Not ego in the loud sense, but ego as the belief that everything revolves around you. They believed anger thrives when we confuse other people's behavior with a judgment of our value. Think about it. If someone cuts you off in traffic, do they know you? If a cashier is short with you, do they understand your day? If a friend responds poorly, are they fully aware of your intentions? Of course not. Yet your mind fills in a story where you are the target. The Stoics trained themselves to reverse this habit. Instead of asking, "Why did they do this to me?" they asked, "What state of mind might they be in?" That single shift dissolves a lot of anger, because it removes the imagined attack. You begin to see behavior as information, not offense. A short reply might mean stress. A careless comment might mean ignorance. A rude action might mean emotional immaturity. None of these require your anger. They require perspective. And here's the hard part. Letting go of personalization feels like losing control at first. Your ego wants to defend itself. It wants to respond. It wants to set the record straight. But the Stoics notice something interesting. The more you defend your ego, the more fragile it becomes. Every reaction confirms that you were threatened, whereas calm silence sends a different message. It says, "This didn't touch me." That's real strength. Not proving you matter, but knowing it without noise. When you stop taking things personally, you free yourself from emotional slavery. You stop reacting to other people's moods. You stop carrying their frustration. You stop fighting battles that were never aimed at you. This doesn't mean you accept disrespect. It means you choose your battles wisely. Not every remark deserves a response. Not every mistake deserves anger. Not every inconvenience deserves your peace. The Stoics believed dignity comes from restraint, from the ability to say, "This is not worth my energy." And that decision, repeated daily, changes everything. You feel lighter, more grounded, less reactive. You start noticing how often anger was never necessary. It was just habit. And habits can be retrained. The moment you stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "Is this really about me at all?" anger begins to loosen its grip. Not because life becomes kinder, but because you stop standing at the center of every storm. One of the reasons anger drains you so quickly is simple. You treat everything like an emergency. A small inconvenience shows up, and your body reacts as if something serious is happening. Heart rate up, muscles tense, mind racing. But ask yourself honestly, how many of the things that anger you today will matter tomorrow? Most won't, yet in the moment they feel huge. This is because your mind doesn't naturally measure problems. It reacts first and thinks later. The Stoics saw this as a dangerous habit. They believed one of the fastest ways to regain calm was to decide the size of a problem before reacting to it. Not all problems deserve the same energy. Spilled coffee is not a crisis. A rude comment is not a disaster. A delay is not an attack. But when you respond to small things with big emotion, you exhaust yourself. You pour full intensity into situations that don't deserve it. And by the end of the day, you're drained, not because life was hard, but because you made it harder than it needed to be. Think about how often this happens. You're already tired. One thing goes wrong. Then another, and suddenly your entire mood collapses. The Stoics had a word for this. They called it exaggeration. The mind inflates the importance of an event until it feels unbearable. But exaggeration is a choice, even if it doesn't feel like one. The Stoic practice was to shrink problems back to their true size. Here's how they did it. They asked simple questions. Is this truly harmful or just inconvenient? Will this matter in an hour, in a week, in a year? Am I reacting to what happened or to my frustration? Most of the time, the answer is clear. The problem is small, your reaction is large, and that mismatch is where anger grows. Imagine reacting to a spilled drink as if someone insulted your character, or treating a delayed response as if it were a personal betrayal. When you see it clearly, It's almost absurd, yet this is how most people live, constantly overreacting. The Stoics didn't eliminate emotion, they aligned emotion with reality. If something truly matters, respond with seriousness. If it doesn't, respond lightly or not at all. This creates emotional efficiency. You stop wasting energy. You reserve your intensity for things that deserve it. And something remarkable happens. Your calm becomes your default. Not because nothing goes wrong, but because fewer things qualify as important. This doesn't mean suppressing anger. It means placing it correctly. Anger has a purpose when there's real injustice. But when it's triggered by everyday friction, it becomes self-harm. The Stoics warned that a person who is angry at everything is controlled by everything. But a person who chooses what deserves anger is free. Here's a simple exercise. The next time something irritates you, pause and rate it. On a scale of 1 to 10, how serious is this really? Be honest. Most of the time, it's a 2 pretending to be a 9. Respond to it like a 2, briefly, calmly, without drama, and then move on. You'll notice something quickly. When you stop feeding small problems with big reactions, they lose their power. Your mind quiets, your body relaxes, and the world stops feeling so heavy. Choosing the size of the problem is choosing how much of your life it gets to occupy, and once you master that, anger stops running your day. Imagine your inner calm as something valuable, not abstract, not poetic, something real like money. Now imagine that every time you get angry over something small, you pay for it. The rude comment costs you an hour of bad mood. The traffic jam costs you your evening energy. The careless message costs you your sleep. If peace were visible, you'd see how expensive your reactions really are. Most people go broke emotionally without realizing it. They hand over their calm to strangers, delays, and tiny inconveniences, as if it costs nothing. But it does. The Stoics understood this deeply. They believed anger was a terrible trade. You give up clarity, dignity, and time in exchange for a moment of emotional release. And what do you get back? Nothing useful. The situation rarely improves. The other person rarely changes. You just feel worse later. This is why the Stoics practiced what we could call emotional minimalism, not feeling less, but spending less. They asked, "Is this worth my peace?" Not everything is. In fact, most things aren't. Think about your average day. How many moments try to provoke you? A slow response, a mistake, a tone you don't like, someone else's carelessness. Each one is an invitation to react, and every invitation can be declined. You are not required to attend every emotional conflict. This is where most people misunderstand calm. They think calm people are unaffected. They're not. They're selective. They choose where to place their emotional energy. They don't waste it on things that don't matter. This doesn't mean you let people walk over you. It means you don't let them rent space in your mind for free. The Stoics believed self-respect comes from restraint, from knowing when to engage and when to walk away untouched. There's a quiet confidence in saying nothing, in not reacting, in letting trivial things pass without leaving a mark. That confidence grows when you realize something important. Most situations don't need your emotion to resolve themselves. They pass on their own. But when you react, you prolong them, you replay them, you rehearse conversations, you stay stuck. Anger extends the life of a problem that was already ending. This is why emotionally disciplined people feel lighter. They don't carry yesterday's nonsense into today. They let it die where it belongs, in the moment. Here's a simple practice. The next time something irritates you, imagine handing over a coin. Ask yourself, is this moment worth paying for? Most of the time, it isn't. So you keep your coin, you breathe, you stay silent, you move on. Over time, this changes your identity. You become someone who is hard to disturb. Not because life is easy, but because your peace is guarded. This is the Stoic secret most people miss. Peace isn't something you find, it's something you protect. Every day, through small decisions, through restraint, through choosing not to react to things that don't deserve you. And when you stop spending your peace on worthless things, you discover you have far more of it than you thought. Right before anger takes over, there is a moment most people miss. It's brief, almost invisible, a tiny gap between what happens and what you do next. Most people skip over it. They move straight from irritation to reaction. The words come out sharp, the body tenses, the damage is done. And later, when the heat fades, regret sets in. You think, I should have handled that better. The Stoics believed this moment, this pause, was where freedom lived, not after the reaction, not hours later. But right there, that pause is small, but it's powerful, because when you use it, anger loses its authority. Think about how anger actually works. It doesn't ask permission. It rushes in with urgency. Say something now. Fix this immediately. Don't let this slide. Anger wants speed. The pause removes speed. And without speed, anger weakens. This is why the Stoics trained themselves to slow down on purpose, not to suppress emotion, but to interrupt it. They understood something modern life constantly forgets. Your first impulse is almost never your best one. It's automatic, habitual, driven by ego and fatigue. Reacting instantly feels strong in the moment, but it usually leaves you weaker afterward. The pause changes the sequence. Instead of event, emotion, reaction, you create event, pause, choice. That pause can be 2 seconds. That's enough. In those 2 seconds you breathe, not dramatically, not perfectly, just enough to signal, I'm not in danger. Your nervous system settles, your thoughts slow, and suddenly you're no longer trapped inside the emotion, you're observing it. This shift is everything, because the moment you observe anger, it stops being in control. You are no longer angry, you are someone experiencing anger. That distance gives you options. You can speak calmly, you can set a boundary, you can say nothing at all of those are stronger than an outburst. This is why calm unnerves people. They expect reaction. When it doesn't come, the dynamic changes. The Stoics didn't see this as passivity. They saw it as command. You are choosing when to act instead of being dragged into action. Here's how to practice it. Next time something triggers you, stop for 2 seconds. Don't move, don't speak. Take one slow breath. Then ask a single question. What response serves me best right now? Not what feels satisfying, not what proves a point. What protects your peace and dignity? Sometimes the answer is a short sentence. Sometimes it's silence. Sometimes it's walking away. But it's chosen, not forced. At first this feels unnatural. You're used to reacting. But with repetition, the pause becomes automatic, and something changes inside you. You stop fearing irritation because you know it doesn't own you. You don't need perfect conditions to stay calm. You just need that pause. Over time, this builds real confidence. Not loud confidence. Quiet confidence. The kind that comes from knowing you can handle yourself, no matter what's happening around you. Anger still shows up, but it doesn't stay. It knocks and leaves, because you didn't invite it in. That pause is small, but it's the difference between being controlled and being in control. A lot of your anger comes from one quiet mistake. You're trying to control things that don't belong to you. Other people's behavior, their moods, their timing, their mistakes. When the world doesn't cooperate, frustration rises. You think they should know better. This shouldn't be happening. Why won't people just do the right thing? But here's the Stoic truth that changes everything. Most of what upsets you was never under your control in the first place. And every time you fight that reality, you exhaust yourself. The Stoics divided life into 2 simple categories: what is up to you and what is not. This distinction sounds obvious, but most people ignore it daily. You can't control how someone speaks to you. You can't control traffic. You can't control delays, mistakes, or other people's emotions. Yet you react as if you could. You argue, you rehearse, you get angry, and the anger comes from one place: expectation. You expected the world to behave a certain way. When it didn't, you felt wronged. But expectations placed on what you don't control turn into frustration every time. The Stoics didn't lower their standards. They lowered their illusions. They accepted the world as it is, not as they wished it to be, and in doing so they gained peace. This doesn't mean you become passive. It means you focus your energy where it actually matters, your actions, your words, your responses. That's it. Everything else is noise. Imagine how much calmer you'd feel if you stopped trying to manage other people. If you let them be impatient, let them be careless, let them misunderstand, not because it's right, but because it's not yours to carry. Anger often feels like strength, but most of the time it's wasted effort. You're fighting reality, and reality always wins. The Stoics saw this clearly. They believed real power comes from alignment with reality, from saying, this is outside my control, and that's okay. Once you accept that, anger loses its fuel, because there's nothing left to argue with. Here's a practical way to apply this. The next time something irritates you, ask, is this something I can actually change right now? If the answer is no, let it go. Not emotionally, logically. Redirect your attention to what you can control, your tone, your boundary, your next move. This shift is subtle but profound. You stop feeling responsible for everything. You stop feeling personal, attacked by randomness. You stop exhausting yourself over things that were never yours. And something else happens. You regain dignity, because you're no longer reacting to every disturbance. You're choosing your battles. You're conserving energy. You're standing on solid ground. The Stoics believed that freedom isn't about controlling the world. It's about controlling yourself within it. Once you truly accept that distinction, anger becomes optional. Not forbidden, optional. And most of the time, unnecessary. When you stop trying to control what was never yours, you stop carrying the weight of the world. And life becomes lighter, not because it's perfect, but because you stopped demanding that it be. By now, you've seen the pattern. Anger doesn't come from big disasters. It comes from small moments handled poorly. A thought goes unchecked. A reaction happens too fast. An expectation collides with reality. And suddenly something trivial controls you. The Stoics didn't believe you could eliminate anger forever. They believed something far more realistic. You could interrupt it. They understood that emotions rise like waves. They surge, they peak, they fall. If you don't act while they're rising, they lose power. Most anger burns itself out in less than a minute. The problem is not the emotion. The problem is what you do in the first 30 seconds. That's where everything is decided. So the Stoics developed a simple discipline. Not philosophy for books, but a protocol for real life. When anger appears, you do 5 things, not over 5 minutes, over 30 seconds. Here's how it works. First, stop. Do nothing for 3 seconds, no words, no gestures, no reactions. This alone breaks the momentum. Anger feeds on speed. When you stop, you cut off its fuel. Second, breathe. 1 slow breath in, 1 slow breath out. Nothing dramatic. This tells your nervous system something crucial. I'm not in danger. Your body begins to settle before your mind catches up. Third, name it. Silently say what's happening. I'm irritated. I feel disrespected. I'm frustrated. This step is powerful. The moment you name an emotion, you step outside it. You're no longer anger itself. You're someone noticing anger. That distance weakens it. Fourth, shrink the problem. Ask one honest question. How big is this really? Most anger comes from small things pretending to be big. A delay, a tone, a mistake. Call it what it is, a minor inconvenience. When you shrink the problem, the emotion follows. Fifth, choose your standard. Ask, what would the calm, disciplined version of me do right now? Not the tired version, not the wounded version, the version you respect. Then act or don't. Sometimes the strongest move is silence. Sometimes it's a clear, calm boundary. Sometimes it's walking away, but now it's chosen, not impulsive, not regret-filled. That's the full protocol. 30 seconds. No suppression. No pretending. Just control. At first, you'll forget. You'll react anyway. That's normal. This is a practice, not a personality trait. But every time you catch yourself, even after the fact, you strengthen the habit. And over time, something shifts. Anger still appears, but it no longer hijacks you. It knocks. and you decide whether to open the door. This is the Stoic promise. Not a life without irritation, a life where irritation doesn't rule you, where small things stay small, where your peace isn't constantly up for negotiation. If you want to test this, try a simple challenge. For the next 7 days, commit to one rule: no reaction in the first 30 seconds. That's it. You'll be shocked how many problems dissolve on their own, how many conflicts never start, how much lighter your days feel, because the truth is simple. Life will always bring stupid things, but they don't have to decide who you are. That choice belongs to you. And every time you pause, every time you choose calm, every time you don't react, you reclaim a piece of your life. One small moment at a time. By now, you've seen something clearly. The world didn't suddenly become more irritating. You simply became more aware of how often you were giving your peace away. Anger was never proof that you cared. It was proof that something small had taken control of you. And the moment you see that, everything changes. You stop feeling like a victim of circumstances. You stop blaming the world for how you feel. You stop waiting for people to behave differently so you can be calm. Because calm was never outside of you. It was always in your response. Stoicism isn't about becoming cold, detached, or passive. It's about becoming unshakable, not because nothing bothers you, but because you no longer let trivial things decide who you are. You now know that anger begins with a thought, that it grows when you exaggerate, that it survives when you react too fast, and that it disappears when you pause, choose, and let go. This is real power, not dominance over others. Dominance over yourself. And here's the part most people miss. You don't need to master everything at once. You only need to win the next moment, the next pause, the next breath, the next choice not to react. Each time you do that, you reclaim a little more of your dignity. Each time you don't explode, you build quiet confidence. Each time you choose calm, you become someone you respect. The world will still test you. People will still be careless. Plans will still fail. Life will still be messy, but you will be different, less reactive, more grounded, harder to disturb. And when you reach that point, something unexpected happens. Others begin to feel it. Your calm changes conversation. Your restraint de-escalates conflict. Your presence becomes steady in moments where others lose control, not because you preach, not because you correct, but because you embody it. So take this with you, not as a philosophy to quote, but as a discipline to practice. The next time something small tries to steal your peace, remember, you don't need to fix it. You don't need to win. You don't need to react. You only need to choose who you want to be in that moment. And in that choice, you'll find what the Stoics always promised: freedom.